Do you remember your imaginary friend? That secret confidant who was always there, ready for an adventure in the backyard or a quiet chat under the covers. For me, his name was Leo. He wasn't just a figment of my imagination. He was my co-pilot in our cardboard box spaceship. The bravest knight beside me as we defended the couch cushion fort, and the only one who truly understood why the monsters under my bed were so terrifying. Leo was a constant, a warm presence that made the world feel a little less big and a lot less lonely. He was short, with a mop of unruly hair that seemed to defy gravity, and he always wore this ridiculously oversized, bright yellow raincoat, no matter the weather. His special powers, he could make the best hot chocolate just by thinking about it. At least, that's what he told me. But, as it happens, we grow up. The world starts demanding more of us. School gets harder. Friendships become more complicated, and suddenly there's no time for backyard spaceships or imaginary hot chocolate. The line between what's real and what's not becomes sharper, clearer, and less forgiving. One day, I just stopped seeing Leo. It wasn't a dramatic goodbye. There was no tearful farewell at a train station. He just faded. Like a photograph left in the sun for too long. The yellow of his raincoat dimmed, the wildness of his hair settled, and his voice, once a constant hum in the back of my mind, fell silent. I packed him away with my old toys, a relic of a simpler time, and I stepped fully into the real world. For a while, the real world was exciting. I went to college, got a degree, and landed a decent job in the city. I lived in a small apartment with a view of other people's windows. I commuted on crowded trains, worked long hours staring at a computer screen, and spent my weekends trying to catch up on sleep or chores. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I was an adult. But a strange kind of quiet had settled over my life. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of a lazy Sunday afternoon. It was an empty quiet. The kind that echoes the city with its millions of people had never felt so lonely. Friends were busy with their own lives, their own partners, their own problems. Conversations felt transactional. How was your weekend? Busy, you? Same. We were all just going through the motions. I started to feel adrift, like a boat with no rudder, just being pushed around by the currents of expectation and routine. The vibrant colors of my childhood had been replaced by a monotonous palette of grays. The job that once felt like a significant achievement now felt like a cage. The city that once promised endless opportunity now felt like a labyrinth with no exit. I was lost, utterly and completely lost. I'd sit in my apartment at night, the city lights twinkling outside, and feel a profound sense of disconnection, not just from others, but from myself. Who was this person going to work every day? What did he even want anymore? The joy, the spark, the sense of wonder. It was all gone. One Tuesday night, it all came to a head. I'd had a brutal day at work. A project I'd poured my heart into for weeks was scrapped. My boss was unsympathetic. The train home was delayed. I got soaked in a sudden downpour. I walked into my silent apartment, dripping water on the floor, and just stood there in the dark. The weight of it all was crushing. I sank onto the floor, my back against the cold wall, and for the first time in years, I felt a tear slide down my cheek. And then another. I didn't sob. I just let them fall, a quiet admission of defeat. The loneliness was a physical presence in the room, suffocating me. "I don't know what to do," I whispered into the darkness. "I'm so lost." And that's when it happened. A soft light began to bloom in the corner of the room. It wasn't from the street lights or a passing car. It was a warm, gentle light, the color of honey and sunshine. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. I wiped my eyes, thinking they were playing tricks on me, but the light grew, coalescing, taking shape. It formed a small silhouette, one that was achingly familiar. A figure in an oversized coat, a mop of unruly hair. My breath caught in my throat. The light solidified, and there he was. Leo. He wasn't exactly as I remembered. He was translucent, made of pure, golden light, but it was him. The same curious tilt of the head, the same kind eyes. He was glowing, a small sun in my dark apartment. He didn't speak, he just stood there, glowing. And in that light, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a decade. Comfort. A deep, unconditional comfort that asked for nothing in return. It was the feeling of being completely seen and completely accepted, right in the middle of my mess. The suffocating weight on my chest began to lift. The quiet in the room was no longer empty. It was filled with his warm, silent presence. He took a small step forward, and the light he cast washed over me. It felt like stepping into a warm bath, chasing away the chill in my bones. He looked at the mess around my apartment, the unopened mail, the takeout containers, and then he looked at me, not with judgment, but with a simple, profound understanding. He raised a glowing hand and pointed toward my dusty old guitar, which was propped up in the corner, unplayed for years. I used to love playing. I'd write silly songs, and Leo would be my one-man audience, always cheering me on. Seeing him point at it now, a memory sparked. The feeling of the strings under my fingers, the joy of creating a melody out of thin air. It was a part of me I had completely forgotten, a part I had told myself I was too busy for, too adult for. He then tilted his head toward my bookshelf, where a collection of fantasy novels sat, gathering dust. We used to read those together, taking turns voicing the dragons and wizards. We built entire worlds from those pages. His silent gestures were like a map, pointing me back to the person I used to be. Not just the child, but the person who found joy in creating, in exploring. The person who wasn't afraid to be silly, to be passionate, to be me. He was reminding me that the real world hadn't erased that person. I had just buried him under layers of responsibility and self-doubt. The glow from Leo wasn't just light. It was a reflection of the spark that was still inside me, waiting to be reignited. I slowly got to my feet, my legs a bit shaky. I walked over to the guitar and picked it up. My fingers felt clumsy on the strings, but as I strummed a simple chord, the sound, however rusty, felt like coming home. I looked back at Leo. He gave me a small, glowing nod, a silent "I told you so," and then, as gently as he appeared, he began to fade. The golden light softened, retracted, and then winked out, leaving me alone in my apartment again. But this time it was different. The crushing loneliness was gone. The despair had lifted. In its place was a flicker of hope, a tiny ember that Leo had helped me find. He hadn't solved my problems. My job was still stressful, and the city was still big. But he had given me back a crucial piece of myself. He reminded me that imagination isn't just for kids. It's the source of our resilience, our creativity, our joy. It's the inner compass that helps us find our way when we feel lost in the dark. That night, I didn't go to bed right away. I sat with my guitar and played until my fingers were sore. I played old songs I remembered and even tried to write a new one. The next day, I didn't magically love my job, but I walked in with a different perspective. I started sketching ideas in a notebook during my lunch break. I pulled one of those old fantasy books off the shelf that weekend. I was reconnecting with the parts of me that brought me joy. I haven't seen Leo since that night. But I don't need to. I know he's there. He's not an imaginary friend anymore. He's a part of me. He's the glow I carry inside. He's the reminder that no matter how dark it gets, we all have a light within us. Sometimes we just need a little help remembering where to find the switch. So if you're feeling lost, maybe try looking for your own Leo. You might be surprised by the light you find. Thanks for watching.